Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are going to study our topic of nudge theory. What is meant by nudge theory? Today is our last working day of this month. Nudge theory. Anybody knows what is the meaning of nudge? Yes. Like you can influence other behavior. Basically, what is the meaning? You can influence the other's behavior. Okay. You know how government intervenes in the economic activities. Government intervenes through regulation, through legislation, through enforcement of laws. We studied these things, how government is intervening in the economic activities to bring in economic efficiency and to achieve equity as well. So do you think these interventions like regulations, legislation, enforcement of laws, are they always effective? They are effective enough to change the human behavior according to the desired targets. Sometimes they may not be able to change the human behavior. Suppose we are imposing so many taxes on the cigarettes, smoking, or any alcohol drinking. So do you think these drinkers and smokers will reduce these demerit goods? Behavioral insights cannot be changed. Even government has imposed different types of heavy taxes because they have become habitual of these demerit goods. So nudge theory basically it focuses on behavioral insights. What it is? It focuses on behavioral insights. Alright? It changes the human behavior by providing them different choices. We say we are providing them choice architecture. Choice architecture. Alright. Choices are architect, they are reformed by the government by using this theory. Actually, this theory was practically influencing the human behavior during the last decade in the year of 2008. Two persons, Mark Thaler and I don't know the other name, from University of Chicago, they developed this theory. If we can make the behavior of people into our desired targets, we can have micro-targeting. Micro means not at country level. We can target one segment of the society to change their behavior by providing them different choices. For example, if government wants to reduce smoking of cigarettes, instead of having too many taxes, if government provides information about the harmful effects and what could be the substitute of cigarette which is not harmful, when different choices are laid down in front of the people, their behavior can be influenced by these choices and they may adopt these choices available and the desired target of the government is achieved. Through indirect influences, not directly we are announcing that these things are bad, we are not showing the bad effects of demerit goods. Rather, we are providing indirectly the information to the consumers about the harmful effects. Rather, to discourage smoking, we use indirect influences. Okay? So, by that, the behavior of people will be changed into the desired goal of the government. I can give you another example. Previously, during our last government, when government asked us to have biometric registration of our cellular SIMs, what was the reason behind? because of non-biometric SIMs, what was happening? If there was any terrorist attack, government agencies were unable to detect the attacker. Now all of us, we have first government announced different types of threat, different types of choices. Okay, if you are getting this biometric attestation, you will be benefited more. Otherwise, what happens? Your SIM number will be blocked. No unregistered SIM will be used after this date. So government has changed the behavior by providing different choices, then made it possible for the people to get this attestation very easily. Alright. Nowadays we are using a chip card for our CNIC. This is again a security reason. Through that they can detect our presence in any place. Basically, the government provided a different choice that you can have a chips CNIC, and that person who is holding this card will be benefited in the taxation. Your accounts will be linked with this card. All the benefits, all the choices government has announced for the people of the country, and now we have changed our behavior. Instead of having a simple CNIC, we are nowadays having a chip CNIC, in which the desired goals of the government they are also achieved by changing the human behavior. In your book, there is another example. Now, how we can change the behavior? Government is targeting the people through personal email sendings, personal messages sent to the number of the people. Directly people are approached through SMS services, email servicing, and then they are informed about different choices. And it is desired that people should change their behavior. For example, government wants to provide polio vaccination or any vaccination against any disease to the old age people maybe. Then only old age people will be sent the messages or emails that this vaccination will be available at this place at this time at free of cost. You can approach there and you will be provided the vaccination against certain type of disease. Our government wants to reduce road congestion. So what government will do? Government will be announcing the benefits of bicycling to the health of the people. Rather to ask them not to bring your cars on the roads, it is causing congestion and roads are also polluted. Know what government is announcing? It is announcing the benefits of bicycling to the people. Then when choice is available, people will be able to change their behavior according to the micro-targeted policy of the government. समझ में आया कि nudge कैसे work है? Now the question is, do you think this nudge theory is successful in achieving the desired targets? It's simply, if it is announced by the government as a single tool, it may not work successfully. As a single, it saves a lot of government efforts in case of regulation and enforcement of laws. It reduces the government efforts. But we see, as a single tool of changing the human behavior, it is insufficient. So nudge theory, different types of micro-targeting nudges, they are used around the globe, but they are attached with other government policy. Then we can achieve, like government is regulating the market and at the same time it is providing different choices for the people, then nudge can effectively work. And it can target to change the human behavior according to the desired targets of the government policy. Alright? So basically it is behavioral insight, it is not basically a type of economics as a nudge theory. It comes from political sciences and behavioral sciences. How politicians, how the politics of the country will be using different types of nudges in order to have the change in human behavior into the desired goals of the government. This is all about our nudge theory. So after this, we studied in our AS level about privatization. Why government is privatizing? What are the reasons behind?
The competitor who turn the loss making
increase competition or loss something.
First thing, the state-owned enterprises, they have become inefficient. They have become inefficient and they are not profit motivated. Every year they are showing massive losses to the government, and majority of tax revenues they are used to finance the losses of these state-owned enterprises. They are not encouraging the private competition in the market. What government is doing? Government is facing massive budget deficit due to large-scale state-owned enterprises. Government will start privatizing them. I gave you 4 methods of privatization. One is called what? Direct sale, by issuing the shares or by auctionizing. 4 methods of privatization. What are those? First is direct sale. And direct sale can be for the smaller enterprises in the form of auction, and for larger state-owned enterprises they will be privatized by issuing the shares gradually, not suddenly, that all the shares are sold to the private sector. Gradually government is privatizing or selling the shares. Second method of privatization is deregulation. What do you mean by deregulation?
Allowing the private businesses to do the same.
Yes, whatever the barriers were created by the government through rules and regulation, those barriers will be uplifted. Now rules are made to remove those barriers. If previously only PTV was providing us television services, no one else was allowed to provide these types of entertainment or news services. So now government has deregulated the market, and due to this deregulation, more private firms they have entered into the market, and it has increased the privatization. Nothing has been sold, only government has changed the rules, and through these changes in rules, private sector is involved in the production of those goods and services. The third method is contract out. What do you mean by contract out? Now government wants to have the construction of a road, bridge, motorways, schools, buildings and etc. What government is doing? Government is giving the contracts to the private people in order to construct it for the government. Government pays money for those contractors, okay, for their work, and now private sector is producing the goods for the government. This is also a form of privatization. Now the fourth method of privatization is franchising. Now people are doing business on behalf of the government, like PIA, state-owned airline. If you are having a franchise of PIA to sell the tickets in your area, so this is doing business on behalf of the government. It is also encouraging privatization. So through privatization, what government is doing? Government is allowing the market forces to determine what point for whom to produce without or less and less intervention. It will improve efficiency, competition in the market, and through privatization, whatever money is received by the government, it will be used to finance its budget deficit, borrowing requirement will decrease, and it can spend more money on the improvement of infrastructure. Now, what are the problems of privatization? Do you know what are the problems? A state monopoly can be converted into private monopoly. Very important thing. If government is having monopoly in the production of certain types of goods, like you can say PTCL, that was a single supplier of telecom services, a huge firm owned by state. So when it is privatized, no one else is able to compete with that larger firm. Okay, so that state monopoly is going to be converted into private monopoly. And what monopolist is doing? He is earning supernormal, exorbitant profits, and due to those profits, he can also discriminate the consumers, because no one is going to compete him at a huge scale at a large scale of production. So state monopoly can be converted into private monopoly. Rather, to encourage competition, it is still discouraging competition due to monopoly power in the market. Alright, discrimination is also possible. Now, after privatization, government is making regulatory authorities. What do you mean by PTA? Pakistan Telecom Authority. Have you heard the name PEMRA? What it is? Pakistan Electronic Media Regulatory Authority. What is their role? They have made a manifesto, they have made certain rules and regulations for these privatized firms or new firms in the private sector, and these authorities will be looking after the activities of private firms, whether these rules are followed or unfollowed. If any rule is unfollowed, these authorities will make sure by implementing those rules, they can also fine those privatized firms, or they can cancel their licenses. So different types of punishments are announced. So these actually they are formed by the government in order to look after the activities of privatized firms. So previously, why government privatized the state-owned enterprises? Because government was unable to provide employment to everyone. These organizations were having massive losses, so the salaries of their employees, they were paid by the government, and government was unable to improve the infrastructure. Now, after privatization, now these people, those who are sitting in these authorities, they will also be paid by the government. So the burden of the government is not reduced permanently, but it has shifted from this area to this area. They were even earning, and now these are totally funded by the government. Or some fines which these authorities are imposing on privatized firms, or by issuing the licenses to the private sector, they are also earning, but majority of their fundings, they are financed by the tax revenue. Now, government is also appointing different types of regulatory officers to look after the activities, whether these are involved in bribery or in any illegal activities. So those authorities, those inspectors may involve into bribery conditions, and now the government is again making another department. Like previously there was anti-corruption department to look after the corruptions of different types of firms in public and private sectors which are privatized, and now that department, if that has become ineffective, so government has introduced another department of NAB, which is not only looking after the firms, but it can also look after the individuals. Okay? So the government is still going to provide employment to many people, and its load of providing jobs is not reduced. Okay? So if government is funding its deficit through privatization, this is one-off stream. Once a firm, a state-owned enterprise is privatized, government cannot further privatize if everything is in the hands of private sector. One-off stream, one time government can earn money. If these enterprises were profitable, then every year government was able to earn profit. Now this is one-off stream. A time will come, government will be unable to finance its budget deficit by privatization because nothing is left over with the government. Even profitable firms, if they are privatized, that will be a mistake, that the profit of the state will be enjoyed by the private sector. Okay, so when government is financing its budget deficit through privatization, a time will come when nothing is left over, then government will be again borrowing money from commercial banks, from central banks, or from international lenders. Why I am focusing on more on privatization? There can be question related to discussion question. Do you discuss whether privatization can ever be justified? Why government privatized? And what are the pros and cons of this privatization? And what will be your decision making? Alright? Any question related to this? Now, ठीक है ना टाइम? Okay. Now come towards the redistribution of income. How government redistributes income in the society? What are the redistributional methods of government policy? क्या है? टैक्सेस तो आपने पढ़े हैं ना? इसके अलावा भी कुछ और चीज़ नहीं. Now see redistribution of income and wealth. Why income inequalities are arising? Why income inequalities are arising? Some people are earning more than others. Some people are having more sources of earning, like they are having rent earnings, interest earnings, their wages and salaries and profit of their enterprise. So the sources of earning when they are high, are some people they are rich by inheritance. Okay, so we find gaps between rich and poor. Gaps between rich and poor. So government is aiming to have equitable or fair distribution of income in the country. कौन सी distribution है? Fair distribution of income and wealth in the country. So what do you mean by horizontal equity? If you remember, what is meant by horizontal equity? That means equals are treated equally. Like same income group will be taxed by the government with the same rate. Equals are treated equally. And what is meant by vertical equity? That means unequals are treated unequally. Different income groups they are taxed differently. Do you know what is meant by intergenerational equity? We haven't studied. Intergenerational equity. Like generation after generation, we should have the fair distribution of income. It does not mean that one generation is having a very high level of income, whereas the upcoming generation is having a lower distribution of income. They are going to be poor. So, whatever the government policies are designed, they should achieve the goal of intergenerational equity, that generation after generation, the distribution of income should be fair. There should not be gap between rich and poor after one or two generations. So we should have the fair distribution. Whatever government policies are designed, they should be sustainable. Sustainability means what? They should have the same type of results for the upcoming generations. So when government is designing these policies, government is trying to achieve horizontal equity, vertical equity or intergenerational equity. Okay. Now, what are the different tools of achieving these equities? One is called providing benefits. What are the different tools? Providing benefits to the people. Providing benefits. And second tool is through taxes. Through taxes. Taxation. We studied our taxation method in our AS level. Progressive taxes are used. They are used to redistribute income. But providing benefits are again having two things. One is means tested policy. Another is universal benefits. Means tested benefits are those which are provided by the government to those who are actually deserving for these things. For example, who is entitled for pension? Old age people, retired people. Everyone is not entitled. So in this case, government is providing cash benefits to the people who are deserving. Child care benefits are provided to those parents who are having the kids. Okay? And unemployment benefit can only be provided to those who are unemployed. Those who are deserving, they will be entitled for these types of benefits. Okay? Everyone is not entitled. Everyone is not deserving for these things. An employed person is not going to receive unemployment benefit. He is already paying taxes to the government. What are the universal benefits? These are for everyone. Like education and health benefits, they are in the form of goods and services. Married goods. You can say public goods and married goods. Everyone is entitled. If you are getting education in the private school, you can also get education in any of the public college or university. There is no restriction. You are coming here because of your own choice. But these universal benefits, they are actually redistributing income from rich to poor. If you are able to afford this type of education, expensive one, government is collecting taxes from you people and providing schools and hospitals to those who are unable to afford. So actually government is putting money into their pockets in the form of these benefits. This is also a type of redistribution of income. What happened? Okay, we will continue from here after the long weekend, inshallah. So see you on Tuesday.